consumption because
We're back with Delano Garcia. We're talking about the local politics in New Mexico, and we'll go talk a little bit about the national. Let's talk about the state a little bit, the state of the state. What do you think we are economically in New Mexico?
well, obviously the revenues are down, but we are not. The state of New Mexico is not in debt because it's not allowed by the Constitution.
Because the balanced budget.
We have a balanced budget amendment which does not allow the legislature or the government to just overspend more than the projected revenues. But yet a lot of people mislead, and I'll repeat myself, mislead the general public. Oh, we're about a doomsday, that we're in a mess. The state of New Mexico cannot go into debt.
So you're saying is we're not as
We don't have as much money as we have in good years where the money's coming in from oil and gas, tourism, retail, and so on.
Oil and gas are up.
Oil is the price of oil has gone up. Gas is
The revenues are up. I mean,
yes, but it's been picking up. But as far as natural gas, it's kind of level. But the two biggest industries is oil and gas and tourism. Well, tourism is affected by the price of gas, so it hurts.
Do you think the tourism is down from
I don't
last
know
couple
for
of
a
years
fact
since the recession hit?
I think it has been down. If you probably look at the largest taxes, probably has gone down. The price of gas, people are not traveling as much as they used to because of the price of gas. So it's a double-edged sword. The more the price of gas goes up, the more revenues for the state. But the general public doesn't want to buy that gas to come and visit New Mexico.
Correct.
So it's a double-edged sword.
I think the tourism is down somewhat. Talking to the retailers, when you talk to some retailers, they say, yeah, we're down 30% from last year. Some say, no, we're up 30%. Very difficult to gauge. I know the Chamber of Commerce probably have some figures on it, but overall, you think that it's pretty much the same because we're kind of like
no, it's definitely down, and that affects retailers at all levels. The gross receipts for the cities get largest tax, on and on. So it affects everybody.
You said that we couldn't go into debt. Now we do have a budget shortfall, right?
No, I wouldn't say a budget shortfall. We don't have the large numbers in our budget or projected revenues that come into the budget. But as far as a budget shortfall, if they're projecting that it's going to be, I'll just get a number of the air. If they're projecting it's going to be, let's say, $2.5 billion, well, they can't spend $2.7 billion, so you cannot go into debt. So they have to stay within those parameters of.
In that parameters.
And usually the legislature is pretty good. They keep it, instead of spending the 2.5, they'll keep it at 2.4, so leave a little bit there as a cushion in case some emergencies do come up, such as forest fires, such as floods and stuff like that, emergencies. So they don't spend every single
So overall,
penny.
you don't think New Mexico is in trouble like some of these other states?
Well,
I know there's a lot of cities, when you look at other cities, I was telling you that San Bernardino is filing for bankruptcy. We haven't seen any of that in New Mexico.
New Mexico cannot, no city is going to file for bankruptcy because you can't spend more than what you have.
Exactly.
You just can't, not in New Mexico.
So overall, you think that our condition is
reasonable?
We're not like.
Obviously, we're having to tighten our belts. When you don't have as much money, well, services are going to have to be cut somewhere. You can't. The state does not print their own money. The feds.
What are we cutting back on?
Well, there's proposals about cutting on Medicaid. I don't know how it's going to factor in with this the Obamacare, but they have to cut a lot of services for the handicapped, for developmental disabilities, on and on. Education.
Do you think the Affordable Care Act is going to have an impact on New Mexico's economy in any way, being specifically
well,
Medicare?
Hopefully we don't opt out of the, like Texas did. If we opt out,
Texas opted out, yeah.
But yet Texas has the highest number of uninsured in the nation.
Yes, they do.
Do we want that for our state? I don't think we do. Yes, it's not a perfect law. It needs to be fine-tuned, but to abolish it completely is crazy.
What do you like specifically about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act? Specifically, what is it that you like?
Well, the precondition that they used to not let you get insurance if you had pre-existing
pre-existing
conditions.
Yeah, the pre-existing, and the children they can stay under their
Right.
parents for till they're 26, I think.
Exactly. Well,
Yes.
well, it usually takes you that long for you to graduate from college. I had
Correct.
3 children that graduated from college,
Yeah.
and we tried to keep them under our umbrella for as long as we could.
And the women's care. There's a lot of good things in there. Some things I'm not sure about, and you know, maybe in another segment we can talk about it. But overall, you don't think it's going to have any kind of an impact on the economy in the short term?
I don't think it's going. I think it's actually going to help to some degree. Again, being repetitious, there is some flaws, but
But long term, you think it'll
Social
be
Security had flaws. A lot of the GOP, if you want to say, voted against it.
Mhm.
They voted against the food stamp program, and of course the food stamp program is not perfect either, even today. But anyway, they voted against Social Security, but yet they're accepting Social Security today. I don't see any Republican or a Democrat turn down Social Security at the age of 62 or 65.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't seen them yet.
Why did they keep, on national level, why do they keep talking about privatizing Social Security? Is it simply from finance reason, or is there some other underlying reasons there?
To me, I think it's an underlying reason to get the rich richer and to privatize everything. That's some of the mentality of a lot of people, to privatize everything. And look what's happening.
And I think Paul Ryan, the new VP pick for Romney, he had suggested that he wanted to reform Medicare and take it into a voucher system. I think that's not a very popular thing amongst us, especially in that senior age group, right?
Well, that goes hand in hand with the rhetoric that Mitt Romney has been saying. It's nothing but rhetoric. I mean, it kind of touches a raw nerve with me. They keep the classes, middle class. There's no such thing as a middle class anymore. It's the very rich with the very poor.
You don't feel there is a middle class?
No, not anymore.
Well, there's a middle class there, though, right?
But
It's shrinking. You're saying.
It's
shrinking.
absolutely shrinking. Absolutely shrinking.
But there is a middle class there. I mean, we haven't gone into any kind of a third world-like situation where there's the complete rich.
No.
You do see the middle class. You're just saying it's shrinking.
It's just
And I think
shrinking.
you have a point there.
The division between the income levels is just greater and greater and greater. That gap is just greater and greater. It's not getting any better. It's not leveling off whatsoever.
The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting
Absolutely.
poorer. The gap is widening.
If I remember correctly, the last time I heard, there's more billionaires in this country than we have ever seen in the history of the United States, and yet the economy is down in the dumps.
What do you think changed going into a national now? What do you think changed in the last decade? I know you follow politics really well. In the last decade, since George W. came in till now, what do you think happened? Why did we go into this? Or is this just some correction that the markets made for the last, because we haven't seen anything like since the Great Depression.
Well, I think it's gotten worse in the last decade, but I think it started before that. And I keep telling people, I think this nation has gone from a state of need to a state of greed. It's nothing but greed at the corporate level, the banking level, the pharmaceutical level, state and local politics. I mean, it's nothing but greed.
My point was, what happened in the last decade? I know that there was policies that were implemented by George W. Bush, but then weren't some of those policies coming in from the Clinton era? So
absolutely.
You couldn't completely entirely blame it on
absolutely.
George
That's why I
W.,
say
right?
it didn't just happen in the last decade. It happened. It's been going on as for the last 2 decades. We're all to blame, and and it's only
both sides are to blame
until we start working together and truly become a United States. Because we are not the United States anymore. We're not united. We have never been so divided in this country. We're not united. We call ourselves the United States, but we're not divided.
We're getting more and more, against each other in some ways, philosophically. I mean, we disagree with each other on a lot of things, but I think the gap is widening where we disagree with each other. I think.
Absolutely, the division is getting greater and greater.
Yeah. So I think eventually something has to give. If we're going to take the nation in the right direction, you can't have a gridlock forever. You agree with me on that? Right?
I think we need a peaceful revolution by the electorate. Voters that have opted not to participate anymore need to get back in and vote and get rid of all these people, regardless of the party affiliation. Just get rid of them.
Hold that thought for a second. We'll be right back with Delano Garcia.